Hey everyone, this is Reginald, and welcome to the Blak Mild podcast. Joining me today is Kendrick. How you doing, man?
Good, dude. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So really brief, I'm actually gonna do a few housekeeping things beforehand. So the first thing is I know this was super last minute, but I always do check the live stream or the live chat. If you guys have questions, comments, and they incorporate well into the conversation, I will definitely take a look at that. My priority is having a good, enjoyable conversation with Kendrick. But if something kind of comes up, I'll be sure to check and try and incorporate that. The second one is this one's quite honestly going to be shorter than the usual ones, just because we both probably have a lot of time constraints. So we're going to try and keep it pretty streamlined for you guys. And then finally, me personally, I get super insecure in terms of the AV. So if you guys are noticing any kind of choppiness or anything like that, feel free to let me know or comment when you do get a chance to watch this, and I'll try and take a look at that. So without further ado, man, Kendrick, how you doing, man?
Good, dude. How are you?
Doing well. So I know we were having like a brief kind of prep conversation beforehand. So I think one thing that I do want to start with is you are very well known in the OP community for your YouTube channel ENFP Male, which is like super awesome. It's been great, and I think you even hit a 1,000 subscriber count. So I was curious, not only what got you into specifically objective personality, but also what led you to start the ENFP Male channel from an interview perspective.
Do you want me to answer the how I got into typing or
We could
the
do
channel?
both. We
Okay.
could so start with typing and then move to the channel.
I think I started with the personality stuff when I was 26 years old and I was feeling insecure about myself. Like I felt like, I didn't know the direction that I was going to in my life. And, I was having trouble with dating. I was having trouble with career. I was just lost. I was confused. And I felt embarrassed, like my friends seemed to know what they want to do with their life. And I was still kind of stuck. Like, I was stuck in a loop where I would go to school, I would fail, I would drop out, go to another college, fail again, drop out. And it was because I was addicted to playing video games. I just stayed home playing video games, but it was an escape, I just felt like it was an escape. I felt like my real life just wasn't what I wanted to be, but I didn't know which direction I wanted to go. So I felt like that I needed an answer. And I felt that when I was looking for an answer, it was personality type that I kind of landed into that started to start me on that journey. So
Okay.
I took the test online and I got ENFP. I even went to college and we had like a professional MBTI guy come there and he gave us all like a typing to type all of us individually. And he gave us like a thick report. I got ENFP also. And but I remember watching the old David Superpowers videos back in the old days, and he had those bubbles, and I remember seeing the NEFI, TE, and SI, and I was like, wow, this is like life changing, because this is actually how I would function as a person. It's not like the anecdotes or the description that you would see in the MBTI website that would come across as horoscope like. But then I still remember that time that I felt like, okay, I seem to know the NE and TE stuff. Well, why is the FI? How come I don't understand how this FI stuff works if I'm an ENFP? Because it's supposed to be my second one. So that kind of started my journey. And then I got into Enneagram as well. And with the Enneagram, I came up with type 7. And that also answered a lot of my questions, especially with like emotion, where I would run away from negative emotion and always try to paint things in a positive light when really, the life is not about just the positive, it's positive and negative. So so using those two kind of jump started me in the journey with personal growth and personality. Fast forward several years later, I spoke to Dave on the phone and I met with him in person in Seattle where he had a meetup. And that was my first time doing any videos in the ENFP Male. Actually was interviewing Dave at in Seattle.
Okay. In the car, right?
Sorry? Yeah, in the car.
car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really random. Um, and during that time, I've always wanted to start like a personality channel. Like I've thought about it for many years, like at least 5 years. I just never pulled the trigger. I think that's why at first I was kind of wondering how come Blas is a savior of mine when I just couldn't pull the trigger on something that I've always wanted to do. And um, to this day, I still don't know why it took me so long. I think it's a lot of fear. If I were to guess, fear like I don't know enough information, so I have to gather more.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into personality itself. Now, in terms of how I started ENFP Male, it's gonna offend a lot of people. How I started the channel. I don't know how. There's no nice way to saying this, but when I first after I interviewed Dave, I started making some ENFP specific tips on the channel because it's called ENFP Male because originally it was supposed to be to give tips to ENFP males. Because I've had a lot of struggles in my life that I've overcame, and I felt like I have something to share with people to fill in the gaps. To say, like let's say a few steps ahead of you, but you don't know the rest of the steps. Well, I can cover those steps because, I'm a little bit older now. I've gone through a lot of life experience that I've overcome essentially,
Right.
and so I can provide those roadmap to people. Now, people start getting mad at me for posting ENFP tips. The ENFP people loved it because they're getting tips for themselves, right? But everyone else kind of felt left out. People thought I was a dick, spamming the Facebook groups because, like who's this asshole who comes out of nowhere, starts posting here, not engaging with any of us. He's just spamming his shit. People haze me essentially. I got hazed. I got roasted. And then I went back and thought to myself, I'm like, okay, how do I shut these people up? Because maybe they just need some attention. And if I start interviewing them, that'll get them off my back. Start posting my ENFP male stuff,
Right.
Just to shut everyone up, right?
Yeah.
Long story short, as I started interviewing people, I started to like the people I interviewed. They started becoming my friends. And at first, I felt distant from the Facebook group. Actually, I didn't feel like I was part of the group. I felt like it was me, and everyone else was kind of like an obstacle, And then after a year of interviewing people, it was like a weird transition where suddenly I felt like I was now part of the group. I was now part of the tribe, and I'm there to serve the tribe now. It's really weird how that worked because my initial intention was just to get people to get off my back,
Right.
And yeah, now I'm like friends with some people in the group. I don't like everyone in the group. There's people I don't like, but for the most part, most people I interviewed, they're great people. I love hearing their stories about how they live their day-to-day life. I love how there's people who are really growth mindset. They're really trying to learn. They're doing their best. No one's perfect, but that's okay. We're all in this journey to work on our problem areas and some things that other people have figured out you can tell me, and some things I've already figured out I can tell you. And by sharing essentially the roadmap to where we need to go, then we can all reach a better and higher version of ourselves that will bring us a lot of joy instead of a lot of pain. Pain coming from abusing your saviors essentially. For me and you it's gathering, but for some people it could be lack of gathering.
Right.
So that's essentially how I started ENFP Male. So the way ENFP Male now is not what it was when I first started it. It's not even close. And I'm working in cohesion now with a lot of people in the group. There's like a lot of different subgroups now, but that's I'm friends with most people, and I'm seeing different projects. Like Benjamin's project is great. Austin has his own project. So I like seeing everyone work on their own project, kind of have their different take on it as well as different definition. I know before this interview you said that some people are questioning me, like where did he get this from? Like where the fuck did Kendrick get all this like anecdotes? And yeah, you know what, man, it doesn't feel good to hear that, but hey, you know what, it's cool. If you call me out on it, that's fine. Gives me something to think about. But I think the simple answer to that is it's just basically from the interviews I've done. I'm just pulling back from what people have said to me and how it felt, how it feels when someone would play last would interact with me versus someone would play first or play last or consume last. Like every interaction I had a certain flavor to it, kind of like when you're cooking something. And basically the higher someone is on, let's use play, for example, the higher your play is, the quicker you are with the fluidity when it comes to going back and forth with the tribe. It's like a ping pong. And the higher your play is, the faster you can volley to each other. Yeah. So that's pretty much my take on it. I mean, I'm just getting it from past experiences, essentially.
That's so good. And I'm really glad that you're keeping it going, because I mean, I think just the consistency alone is very inspiring. Like, if nothing else, right? Like, of course people will have their feedback, but I think just the sheer fact that you've been in the game since, how long have you been doing the interviews?
I think it started in I interviewed Dave in January of 2019. So
yeah, it's like over
almost 2 years.
2 years, right? Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. I think with you, I think you and Benjamin are really kind of just the pioneers there. And I do know that does help a lot of people when it comes to, if they're trying to understand a certain type. Like I've seen people like say, hey, let me go watch the Kendrick interview, for example, be like, with whatever type they're looking for. So it's a really great resource. So it's like, let me be clear. It's there's good to it. Transitioning, one thing I'm curious about. So I remember my interview with you. I thought it was a lot of fun. I personally, I don't know what it is about the interviews. I always find the interviews to be really fun. Like I don't get pressured by them. But what was interesting about it was, at that time, we thought we were the same type, right? And like I was sharing my anecdotes and those type of things. And I know since there was the whole thing of, I think as of in July, my type switched with a conversation with Dave. So what I was curious about is, I think we mentioned offline, you haven't seen anyone switch before.
Right.
Can you share like your perspective on like just this whole notion of switching types? Like, if you haven't seen it before, I mean, like, for example, in my case, it's like, do you think sorry, let me back up. I think what I'm specifically referring to is, like, I've seen a lot of people in the Facebook unofficially be like, oh, my type's this and oh, my type's that. Like, when you see that, like, what's going through your mind when you see stuff like that?
When I interviewed you originally, you used a lot of NF, which threw me off a little bit, because you were blasting a lot, but you were also using a lot of NF. Your NF is second, right? That's your consume. So if Dave switched your type, to me, honestly, it's really confusing. It could go either way. You're still info dominant, right? So it's confusing in that sense. As far as people switching types, there's people that unofficially switch their own types, and there's people that got officially switched. So far, you're the only one that I've met that officially switched their type. I don't know anyone else that has officially switched their type. I know there's people like Benjamin who doesn't think his animal stack is the way they gave it to him. Yeah. But and there's people definitely that don't agree with their animal stack. But in terms of officially being switched by Dave and Shan, I think you're the only one that I've interviewed so far, at least that has come forward and told me that. Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like if you were to switch it, like, let me ask it this way: for people who switch it officially or unofficially, like, how impactful would it be, especially when it comes to, like, I know some people who are like, hey, I thought I was NI. They said I was NI, but I'm NE, or vice versa. Like, for some reason it's NI, right? Like, how impactful would you say that would be, if they switch it and let's say they're wrong? Like, do you think that's a big deal, or?
No, I think if anything, it actually gives them a little bit more credibility, because at the moment, like, if you're not switching people's type and not admitting that you're wrong about something, I think that kind of it doesn't show humility, when you do get something wrong. I mean, you might get something wrong, but in order to protect your image, you might not change someone's type, just for an image standpoint, which I think would be irresponsible to the person that got type, because then they're gonna go buy that information and it could mess up their life, right? Because they're gonna start working on the area that might necessarily be the area that they should be working on. Like for us, if we have sleep last, then clearly that's what we need to work on, right? We need to work on sleep. Right. We need to work on SF. But what if they're not? So what if we're not sleep last? What if we are sleep second? Then we just wasted our life, right? Because then we're not supposed to be working in that. So I think it would be nice to see people getting changed more. I don't think everyone's getting typed correctly, just because if you watch Dave and Shan type people, the celebrities, a lot of their source material is, Lewis House or the Tom guy, Tom Bilyeu, or pretty much they go through an interview, right? And then they use the interview, Joe Rogan, for example. So when you're watching someone getting interviewed versus them speaking on camera, it's a different side of you that's coming out. So when you're being interviewed, you're using play and consume a lot, right? With some blasts thrown in there and maybe some sleep. But when you're just talking in front of camera, you're really essentially just blasting or using sleep. Like you're not really consuming anything because there's no input coming in. And you could use some play if you can imagine pretending you're talking to someone, but it's not the same as like when you see someone's face and you see their facial expression change or their tone of voice change, that the real play kicks in, right? So I think if they did like a video typing of, like, you're supposed to send 30 minutes of video. So maybe 30 minute is of you talking to someone. The other 30 minutes is just you talking to the camera. I think that would be more accurate in a sense that, you cover all bases. And it's also more congruent to how they actually type celebrities. So so that's how I feel in terms of that situation.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's probably enough. Because I mean, as you can imagine, I was kind of shaken like when it happened, and especially now that it's resurfaced a little bit, I'm like, okay, I guess I might as well deal with it. So really appreciate your feedback there. What I wanted to do, especially given the time constraints, I actually wanted to prioritize what you like, just you as a human, like, if that makes sense. Especially even from an OP perspective, I think when people think ENFP, they have a certain image in their head. Right. They think of like a very artsy, like very scattered, very hates business. Like they think of like a consume, blast, last ENFP. Right. And so for you, if I'm not mistaken, your type is play, blast, consume, sleep. I think especially given just your lifestyle, I think your lifestyle is very counter to what people believe like an ENFP would look like. So I was curious, if we could just talk a little bit around that. Like, for example, what does your average, I don't even know if I want to say week because you're traveling a lot, but like, what does your average month look like if you could do that?
Well, I'm not traveling a lot right now because of the pandemic, but when there's no pandemic, I usually travel for anywhere between 1 to 2 months per year. And then the other 10 months is pretty static, actually. Like I go to work. I have a full-time job working as a personal trainer. I teach group fitness, specifically spin. So I teach spin. I like spin because I'm auditory. So
wait, what do you mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
The spin, you said because I'm auditory. I don't.
I guess you've never taken a spin class, but spin is very music heavy.
Oh, okay.
So when you're cycling to the music.
Okay.
Through the beats, so you need to have a good ear for it. So I teach spin. I actually specialize on foam rolling and trigger point therapy. So if people, for example, their knees hurt, lower back hurts, I'm pretty good at fixing those things. That's kind of like my expertise. So now I kind of like when I go to work, I essentially like I try to get clients that needs fixing, and then I pass them on to someone else. Because I'm the guy that repairs your issues, and then afterwards, like, I don't like the weight loss stuff anymore. I feel bored from it, and everyone and their mom is trying to do the weight loss, and no one actually listens to you. They just want to eat McDonald's after their workout. So there's not much I can do. Like everyone I've met that actually have succeeded in fitness was because there was some kind of deep inner pain that they wanted to go over. Like I had this one dude, he was 19 years old. He was an EJ, I think, ESFJ. He hated himself, very ashamed of himself because he was overweight. And then he took it seriously, and now he has six pack, and but that's rare, right? That doesn't happen often. So back to your original question, like what's my month like? Well, yeah, usually I just go to work, I go home, I work on my travel blog, I work on my travel YouTube channel, ENFP Mail with interviews. I do like creative stuff too. My girlfriend, she likes drawing, so me and her are always like coming up with story arcs, kind of like with storyline with different cartoon characters that she's drawing. Okay. So we give characters like their base storyline, and then we have character development as the years go by. And it's all private, right? My girlfriend doesn't really put it out in public, right. So it's like a private little thing that we like to do, is like role playing with different characters. So you could say that's more ENFP like, with like imaginations and creativity and stuff. I'm trying to learn how to edit videos better too. So if you go to my travel YouTube channel, I actually have some animations that I do for the travel stuff. So I'm working on that stuff. I like telling stories too. So I like to tell travel stories in my travel blog itself, and kind of the stuff that I've learned while traveling, like more from like an emotional standpoint instead of just giving facts. I do give facts a lot, but I guess that's where my blaster side comes in, because for me, like giving you the facts is easy. So I don't want to do it that much, because it's like, I guess it's not an area where it's challenging. For me, what's challenging is, talking about feelings and emotions, and
right,
at least openly, because I have it in my head. I just have trouble getting it out. Like it's here. It's like before the interview, you talked about how you've already processed your childhood in your head, right? So emotionally, it's in there, but to communicate it is...
That's a good point. Yeah, it's hard. It is still hard. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like you don't know it. It's there. It's just talking about it is hard. So
yeah,
that's what I'm trying to learn right now. Yeah.
Cool, man. So yeah, you have a pretty full schedule. So which excites me, because like it sounds like correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you really enjoy your life. Like, so what I'm curious about is, so the first thing that I'm thinking about is, how are you like finding time to do all these things, and the energy, like those two things? Like, could you tell a little bit more about that?
I'm not very good at it, to be honest. Like,
okay,
when the pandemic first hit, the first thought that came to my mind is like, holy shit, this is my only this is my moment. This is the only time I'm gonna have time to work on my social media and my YouTube channels, my blog, because otherwise I have to go back to work, and I hate going to work. Like I hate my day job. Like I don't hate fitness, but I hate watching over the gym for idiots who like don't put away their equipment, or like fighting with each other. And it's not, you would think it's like bros that would be like fighting each other. They're not. They're like adults. They're stupid. Like come on, like grow the fuck up. Like, why are you guys fighting over equipment? You're adult, man. You're like in your 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
Can you talk to each other nicely? Like, can I work in with you? Like, so stupid, right? But anyway, so I'm so sick of that shit. I hate babysitting people. So
hold on, we have to pause. I'm just gonna highlight this, and feel free to move on. I complain about that myself, a version of that all the time. Like, it's like, why do I have to babysit you? I think I complain to like my coworkers like all day about that. It's a very similar experience, but keep going. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's annoying, man. So anyways, like you said that, I must enjoy my life. Well, it's kind of funny that you say that. I like what I'm doing right now, and I think had I never worked on that FISI, like what is valuable to me, I don't think I would get to the point where I'm doing things that I actually want to do, because I thought about it, and if I was already like a millionaire, let's say I have $10 million in my bank account, I don't need to go to work anymore. What would I be doing right now? I would be doing the exact same thing. Like, the only thing I would be doing more is traveling,
Right.
But otherwise I would be doing the ENFP Mail interviews. I would be doing the ENFP Mail, the how-to guides for how each of the animals work. I would be doing travel blogs, stories, how to save money on travel. I would still be doing the same thing. So when the pandemic hit, what I thought of was like, okay, well, I need freedom in order for me to pursue this full time, because I don't want to go to work and babysit people. I want to be at home or on the field doing creative work, because that brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah.
So the only way I can make that reality is if I can make money from my passion, which is the ENFP mail stuff and also the travel stuff. So if I can monetize those two to the point where they're giving me sustainable income, at least to the same amount of income that I'm earning from work, then I don't need to go to work anymore, and I can just do the stuff that I want to do, which is those things. Those things makes me happy. So when the pandemic hits, every single day, man, I was working my ass off. Like on April, my goal was to crank out 11 Udemy courses and Skillshare courses, because Udemy and Skillshare will give you pure passive income, right? Like it's set it and forget it. So I cranked out 11 courses. I almost wanted to kill myself. It was like 6 to 8 hours of like organizing known information. Can you imagine doing that as an ENFP, just organizing all day? It was brutal, man. I felt dizzy. I felt nauseous. Felt sick. Like it's horrible, you know. Like my neck would get itchy. My neck would get stiff. It was horrible. I hated doing it. But after April, I finished it. I had 11 courses. It's not like I'm making a lot of money from those Udemy courses and Skillshare. Right. Udemy and Skillshare together makes me $100 a month, right? So it's a start. You know, like my goal is to build up to $1,000 per month passive income, or at least online income. After that happened, I started going on a massive spree of publishing blog posts and YouTube videos every single day. So from May 1st all the way to June 30th, every single day, I cranked out one blog post and one video without fail.
Nice.
And then I got sick. Sick after, because sleep lasts, right? So you can't be doing that shit. Like you can't just be abusing your body and redlining, you know. Yeah, you get work done, but it's not sustainable. So actually the bad thing was that after that happened, like for between July till November, I wasn't getting much shit done. I was getting a little bit of work done, you know, but I wasn't getting like the consistency that I had. So I think it's actually better to have less content but consistent than you go overboard and then you mess up. So come around November, I started going on daily videos and blogs again. So right now I'm doing it right now, but I put a little bit of spin to it instead of doing what I was doing earlier in the year. And the thing that I did a little bit different this time was I said to myself, okay, if I know the blog post or the video is very time consuming and it's tedious, I'm going to give myself 2 or 3 days to complete it. So I'll extend the deadline. So instead of the deadline being at midnight tonight, then the deadline is going to be 2 or 3 days from now. So that way I can manage my energy better. So I'm not redlining, I'm not getting sick and stuff.
Right.
The second thing was that I have trouble focusing. So even though I'm an ENFP, like even though it seems like I'm very productive and completing a lot of stuff, I had to talk about this with Dave, and he said, hey man, you can't rely on your emotions to get work done. You can't, because I was relying on the fact that the pandemic is a short-term thing. And if I don't get work done now, I have to go back to work and I have to work long hours again. So I'm using panic mode. I'm using scarcity in order for me to finish something. And I don't want to rely on scarcity or my feelings in order for me to move forward. I need to be a habit. So I started doing like the hit and run tactic that he told me about. He's like, do a little bit of work. When you feel like shit, go leave, do something else, come back, work again. So I started doing a little bit of that. But the biggest life changer, to be honest, for you, was working out 5 times a week. And not just working out, but doing cardio. I don't know why. I don't know what is it about like doing cardio, but the moment I started doing cardio and weights 5 days a week, and it doesn't have to be hard workout. It could just be like going through the motions. It doesn't have to be heavy. I just need to do it. It seems like the amount of focus I have when I actually get to work has increased substantially to the point where I'm actually shocked how much work I'm getting done. And now that's what I'm working on right now is just maintaining that. And then later on, I'm going to add on, eating healthier, because I don't eat healthy right now. Even though I'm a trainer, I'm kind of a hypocrite. Like I know, because, I'm working on all this stuff. So right now the focus is consistency with the exercise and the work. So next month I'm going to add nutrition. And then the following month I'll add better sleep habits, because right now I sleep at like random hours. Sometimes I'll sleep at 11 or 12. Sometimes I'll go to bed at 5 a.m. So it's really erratic right now.
Yeah.
So, but I'm only going to work on one thing per month. And I know I'll probably fall off the wagon, but I'll do my best to kind of, but it seems like exercise is the, what do they call it? The anchor, you know, as long as that exercise is there, everything else kind of falls into place.
That's really good. I relate quite a bit to like a lot of that. It's like, wow. Yeah, I'm kind of going through a version of that like realization myself. Um, not necessarily with the exercise, although I have been exercising more frequently just as a consequence. So it's funny. I do think my realization did leverage the NF more, leverage kind of the more abstract emotional side more, because I've been so just to share briefly, like how I'm coming to kind of a very similar conclusion practically as you is I went through the consume, I think, because I absorbed a lot of Gary Vee like over the past few weeks. And so one of his core messages, or there's two core messages, or three. Like one is he says, hey, you have to prioritize like enjoying your life. Like make your life meaningful, or one of those two things. It's like you actually like don't if you hate your job, like if you hate your job, if you hate your life, like stop that shit. Right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is he says, well, one of the reasons why you won't do what you actually want to do is because you're afraid of judgment, right? Whether you're afraid of judging yourself, or you're too harsh with yourself, or just kind of the more standard, you're afraid of social judgment, outside judgment. And then I think the third thing was it I think I might have mixed 2 and 3, but like I guess the third thing, just to kind of like be a little bit more specific, is he says the solution to actually getting forward in your life and letting go of the judgment is actually you have to start with not judging yourself, right? And what that means practically is if you're going at this, let's for example in your case, and actually in my case as well, the hit and run strategy, you can't judge yourself for running away, right? Or you can't judge yourself for slipping, or you can't judge yourself for being slower than that guy. Like you have to be like completely accepting of your pace, right? And so for me, it's like as I've been absorbing that, then all of these actions started to follow. I mean, I'm exercising myself quite recently again, and especially at work, it's like I'm taking more of a like quite frankly the babysitter role, and something because someone has to do it. But it's like because I'm kind of taking more of that pace, I do think I'm kind of going through a similar transformation that you are, which I think is cool. I don't know if you agree with that, but I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Like self-acceptance is hard, kind of like the hit and run thing, like just accepting that that's who you are and that's fine, I do struggle with that self-acceptance. I remember reading the books, 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, and when I was looking at like the list of like 6 pillars, it was self-acceptance that was like near the top that I needed to work on. It's still a challenge to this day. I think the only thing I used to get over that sometimes is like if I'm putting a blog post or a YouTube video that I feel very vulnerable putting it out, like I feel scared to do it, then I know that's the one I need to publish. Yeah, but the other thing in terms of FI or NF, I don't know if you read the book The Alchemist.
I did. Yeah,
so you know about like the personal legend and stuff, right?
I don't. It's been such a long time.
No worries. So they talk, the personal legend is your life mission essentially.
Okay.
And they talk about like, at the start you have beginner's luck, things are going well. When you start something, everything's easy, and then you have like the long, boring stretch. Eventually you become rich, wealthy, you get everything that you want, money, the right attractive partner, whatever. But then you stop there. And the problem when you stop there is you haven't finished your mission yet. You're content with what you have, but you're not. That's not the mission. The mission is not finished. So a lot of people stop there, and there's like a lingering feeling of like something's off, something's not right, and that's because you didn't complete your mission. So I think that the thought process I have been having this last few days was, we all have 2 missions. We have a personal mission, and we have a tribe mission that we have to accomplish. But you can't start with the tribe mission until you fulfill your personal mission first.
Okay.
my personal mission is to visit every single country in the world, like 193 of them. So I've been to 89. I'm doing that for me. That's my mission, And then once I finish that, my tribe mission, which I've been thinking about since in my 20s, I've always kind of saw myself as kind of like Professor X. Like I'm gonna have like an X-Men mansion, and
Nice.
I'm gonna have like mutants. I don't know where that thought came from, but
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And I feel like I'm gonna start some kind of school, and it's gonna be like alternative education. It's gonna be practical. There's no bullshit stuff that you'll never use in real life. It's gonna be practical. Right. It's either pass or fail. It's kind of like like how should you really pass in business, right? You either made a profit or you didn't, right? So it's kind of like that kind of deal I was thinking. It's like, I don't care how you get the result, as long as obviously you're not doing anything unethical, like that. That's like really messed up. But the process is not important as long as you get the result, and that would be a pass. So that's kind of like my thought process. And I think a lot of people are doing the wrong thing with their life. So with travel and learning the personality stuff, I was going to combine them together and use them together to kind of help people find who they are, and then work on their personal mission, and then eventually their tribe mission. In the olden days, there used to be a rites of passage where you're not an adult until you survive the rites of passage. You either go to the mountain, survive for a month or whatever, So we don't have that rites of passage anymore, right? We don't have the transition from adolescence to adulthood. So I feel like that's something that needs to be brought back. And I think part of that transition requires you to fulfill a challenge or a test or your personal mission. And no one can really dictate it for you. They can give you hints of what it is, and it doesn't have to be original at the same time. Is what I have learned. You can certainly copy what someone else have done as long as it resonates with you personally. Mm-hmm. But it has to be something that you complete in your lifetime, and you're willing to go all in on that. So I think maybe the first half of your life, it's going to be an 80-20, 80% towards that personal mission, 20% towards serving the tribe. And then after you finish your own personal mission, then you can go switch and go 80% serving the tribe and 20% just doing your own thing. So that's kind of like the thought process I've been having lately as a...
Interesting.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, because I don't remember The Alchemist that well, was that also the case that you had to do the personal mission and then the tribe mission, or is that kind of more your twist on it?
The Alchemist is a self mission. The book talks about self. It has nothing to do with the tribe. The Alchemist is about self, right? Even the ending's pretty ironic, which you probably forgot, but it's okay. The core message is what's important. You have a personal mission, and you can't betray yourself because your life is already good. You get to the point where, let's say you have the dream, the American dream, 9 to 5, you have a house, whatever.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you're not done, man. You're not done. There's work to do. You can't. Have you seen that movie Up in the Air with George Clooney?
No.
Oh yeah, okay. You need to watch that damn movie. That movie is gonna resonate with your NF so hard.
Okay. So hard,
man. Yeah, but I'll just mention one piece of the movie which I thought was really good. So George Clooney's job in that movie is to fire people, right?
Wow.
And he tells people that he's not someone to make you feel good about yourself. He's a reality check. So there's this one guy that he fired, and the guy said, "You asshole! You're supposed to make me feel better. How am I gonna, raise my kids now? Where am I gonna get a job that pays $90,000 per year?" And then I'm just paraphrasing here, but he said to the guy, he's like, "Do you know why kids love athletes? Because athletes follow their dream. Do you think your kids respect you?" So he said that to him, right? And then he's like, "Fuck you, asshole," And he said, "Well, I was like, according to here in your resume, you had a background in culinary arts." And then he said something like, "How much money did they pay you to give up on your dream?" And I was like, and then that guy was like shook, right? He's like, shit, this guy's an asshole, but he's right, And that's kind of like, that's what I've been thinking now. I mean, you have a dream, you need to fulfill it to be a role model to other people, So that's why I think the personal mission has to come first. Once you embody, chasing your dream and actually succeeding in it, and your dream can be unique. It doesn't have to be anything with money. Like for me, it's collecting country, it's gathering, right?
Right.
along the way, I meet different people from different culture, different around the world, and then I'm seeing the universal truth with the world, right? Because if you're American, then you see the American values, but are you seeing what the values are in the Middle East, Africa, South America, Asia? Like it's all different, right? So, but there's a universal truth when you go to all those places. And I'm also learning business. I'm learning, how to leverage globalization to do better. So along the way, even though I'm collecting this for myself as like a personal mission, I'm learning valuable life lesson that I can use to help other people once I transition over to tribe mission, right? At the same time too, it kind of made me think, I'm like, okay, a lot of IJs end up being gurus, right? Like usually when you go to YouTube and you're watching like some kind of guru, it's usually an IJ, like Robert Kiyosaki is like the financial guy, blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously Dave with objective personality and all this stuff. And then like, I feel like a lot of EPs get marginalized. Like we don't take the time to build anything because we're always like changing channels and we have way too many hobbies and whatnot. But I think the problem with the EP is that it's because we're not focused with that gathering. It has to be a focused gathering. Like for me right now, I'm gathering countries. That is my mission, right? But everything that I've gathered, I can funnel into like a system that I can use later on. I can create a system for globalization so that you can outsource. Like for example, for me, I hire a lot of people on Fiverr now to do my work for my travel stuff because it's saving me time, right? I also learned that if I go to Serbia, for example, people have perfect English and they only earn $400 per month and they're university educated. So I can go there and hire people to work for me full time for $400 a month. They're going to live a middle class lifestyle. And they're going to be happy that they have this job. And for me, I'm happy that I have an employee that I can pay so little, compared to what we make here in North America. And it's like a win-win, right? So, and they're working and they're not like entitled. They're not like a bunch of Karens, right? It's like, they're willing to put in like 8 to 12 hours of work per day to get the job done. So like the mindset there is super different, right? Even Dave said that to me. He said, if you think you're working hard, there's a Chinese guy somewhere out there who's working 16 hours, 17 hours, 18 hours per day, every single day. You're not going to beat them, so I learned that through controlled gathering, essentially. And the controlled gathering is my FI. The FI is what's funneling all the gathering, essentially. And then later on, once I finish my mission of visiting every single country in the world, I would have all this wealth of experience. So I'm using the word experience, not just knowledge, because if you just have knowledge, it's not enough because you don't have experience to back it up. And real life is not the same as theory, So when you have experience and the knowledge, then you have something to give to people. Something practical, not some bullshit concept that they can't reuse, Like one of the bullshit things one of my friends always tell me, he's like, he's an internet marketer, he makes a lot of money. But his advice to me, there's some good advice, there's some bad advice. And one of the bad advice he always gives me is like, Kendrick, if you want to make a lot of money online, go find someone already making money, copy what they do, and just make it better. I'm like, how does it even help me? How do I make it better? You didn't even tell me the steps. What the fuck, man? Like, what is better? Like, can you, give me the definition of that? Can you give me what concrete, like what to do? No, there's jack shit because it's all intuition, right? So now I'm going through the hard work of building, this stuff up. And, one of the dreams to earn passive income, right? And I'm now learning that, I don't need passive income to be happy. I just need to be doing the stuff that makes me happy to be happy, So like when I do interviews and whatnot, I feel happy. So why don't I just do that? Who cares if I do that like 40 hours a week? If I'm happy the whole time, then what's wrong with that? Obviously, I'll interview a few idiots here and there, but that's life, right? Once in a while, you'll meet an idiot, but that's okay. It is what it is, right? So I don't know where I was going with this, but I thought I'd go there.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, it's good. I think it answers my question, and I think it actually segues to probably the last major topic, at least for today.
Yeah.
And which would be for me, how have you been attacking the demon emotions? Like, how have you been attacking that? Because I mean, for you, at least especially in the OP system, but by your own admission, the emotions are kind of the biggest problem for you. So it's like, I was curious to see what you're doing. I mean, yes, you're making yourself happy, but I mean, is there anything else, surrounding that topic that you'd like to talk about?
There's only two that I need to work on that is still a struggle for me. So the first one is the SF side of sleep. I need to work on being more SF cool, because when I was in my late 20s, I went all in SF. Like I started dressing nice. Started getting really jacked in the gym, and and it was kind of ironic because back then I didn't know as much as I do now when it comes to fitness, but people took me more seriously back then. And I did not want to respect SF because I feel like it's bullshit. How can people respect you for your physical appearance and the way you present yourself? That is so dumb, like that's not who you are inside, that's so shallow. But now I'm realizing, yeah, it is shallow, it is dumb. That's also reality, so that's something I need to come to terms with. I need to accept that, even though I don't like it. So I need to work on the SF stuff. So that's work in progress. That's gonna be like the hardest one, I think. In terms of emotional stuff, it's like I think I figured this out in my late 20s and my early 30s. It's kind of like projecting what I want to do, like to people, like emotionally, like sharing to people what I really wanted to do, because I struggled with this when I was like younger. Like for example, I used to work, my first job ever was Burger King, and I was really good at cashier and doing the drive-through, but I didn't have the assertiveness to tell my boss that that's what I wanted to do. So I was just okay with just them abusing me and sticking me to the back and, like frying chicken burgers and like putting together the Whopper, right? But like as I got older, I started to learn that, okay, you know what, you're gonna feel resentful towards yourself if you don't express what you want openly to people. So it's been tough, like sleep is also setting boundaries, right? Like that SF sleep. So setting boundaries is something I struggled with. So I've been doing that more now, even though I don't like it, but I'm not very good at it though. I'm like really doing a bad job, but I'm practicing, but it's not good at all. Like I'm burning bridges as a result, because we have double masculine sleep, right? So it's very aggressive. So the moment we set that, it's like, people know I have an FI shit list, right? Guess what? That's a result of the demon FISI. I don't know how to control it properly. Someone told me that, hey man, you need to set your boundaries before it gets to the point where you cut people off. You need to get to the point where you at least communicate how you feel about them and how they fuck you over, or at least how they made you feel before you cut them up, cut them out of your life, before it's over, right? So I've been practicing that, and it's been pretty good. It's not perfect. There's obviously, this is going to be work in progress for the rest of my life, but at least what I'm trying to do right now is, remember at the start of the interview, we talked about how if you have high play, the speed of the interaction is quicker.
Right.
The speed of the volleying, the ping pong. So right now I'm trying to increase the speed of my sleep processing. Because it takes me so long to figure out, like sometimes it takes me like a week to kind of determine how I feel and like how I handle the situation. And I'm trying to cut it down to like maybe 6 days or 5 days or 4 days, so that next time that someone talks to me and like I feel like I'm being disrespected emotionally, or being kind of like, remember what you accused me earlier? Like I steamroll people.
You do.
Yeah, I do. It's okay. It's cool. So it's true, man. It's true. I do steamroll people. I need to work on that. So
yeah.
But I also get steamrolled too, because I have I'm feminine. I have double feminine play, so I get steamrolled really easily. So when I go to work, like recently I fight with my boss all the time now, because I'm trying to project what I really want to do. If my boss said, "Hey Kendrick, can you work at this time? Kendrick, can you teach this class?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to teach those classes. I hate teaching those classes." Like I just flat out tell them I hate that shit. No, I don't want to work at 5:45 a.m. because I'm a night owl. That's gonna mess up my life. And he's probably thinking I'm a pussy, because it's like, oh, you don't want to wake up 5:45 a.m.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm like, no, fuck that.
Right.
Like, I don't want to work at that time. So I'll just say no. I'll tell you right now. And then when my boss gets mad at me, I just tell him, hey man, I tell you this stuff because I respect you. You don't want me to talk shit behind your back. So I'm just telling you right now. It doesn't sound nice now, but at least you have my trust for me to tell you that. So so I'm trying to tap onto a different side of things now, instead of just like always going with the feminine tea, like trying to tiptoe around the tribe, make sure that everyone's feeling good. Yeah. Well, I need to take my feelings into consideration first and project it out there. And even if they get offended, just tell them, hey, I'm saying it out of respect to you too. Just so that we're having a candid conversation. There's no bullshit happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going through some. So funny. We're going through some similar shit, bro. Very similar. It's eerie. I think even that was something, just to circle all the way back. That is something that I did remember when we had that initial interview. I'm like, oh, this guy is pretty similar to me, and I still feel that way, in a lot of ways, because especially for the Demon FI, I don't know if I have enough time to talk about it today. And I mean, of course, we may have to like just do this offline, but I mean, I have a lot of just pent up emotion a lot of the time. And like, yeah, it's like, I like, at some point you just snap and you're like, you know what, everyone's gonna know how I feel now. Like, it's like, but what's cool about that, I don't know if you experienced this, but in my experiences, as you start expressing those emotions, it gets less intense and it gets easier to express, and so people would just like, oh yeah, Reggie's in a fucking mood, like whatever. It's no longer like this volatile, just like you said, like 6-day, and then you're also dragging, I don't know if you experience this, but dragging like 5 people in it, and like it's not that anymore. So
Yeah, I have a friend who completely disrespects me since growing up, and then just like the past year, I've been fighting back, and he's freaking the fuck out because I'm fighting back now, right? Like, I'm using my FISI now to fight back, and it's super aggressive, and he's like just freaking the fuck out, right? Because I'm questioning everything. I also learned about ops, so I know he's consumed less, so I'm always questioning, like, where did you get that fact from, huh? You're blasting about all this shit. Where did you come up with that? Give me your sources. He has no sources, right? So he's just like getting really defensive. But yeah, man, it's tough, But I do think you're more NT than I am. You're definitely a lot more NT than I am. Maybe because when I was your age, I was kind of like more NT, but like now, I don't even want to touch it as much. I'm trying to ignore it because it's.
I mean, what do you mean? Like, can you flesh that out a little bit? Like, when you say I'm more NT, like, what are you looking at to determine that?
Well, I mean, before we started the interview, you were trying to start a debate with me in terms of where I'm getting my definitions for the animals and how people were behaving and why I'm labeling it that certain animal, because maybe Dave and Shan didn't even talk about that. So where did I pull that from, right? So it's okay, you're info dominant, but you're also NT. I'm trying to avoid the debating side of things now. I don't want to argue with people or debate with them. This part is this part, this part is this part. I'm just saying, if someone disagrees with me, that's cool. The information I'm getting is a combination of when I was in David and Shan's class for just over a year, and also from the people I've interviewed. And I've actually, I take notes when I interview people, and I notice, I'm like, okay, this person is behaving this way versus this way, and okay, right. This is how David and Shan use SE to gather, right? We don't have SE, we have NE, right? So if you have 2 people that's gathering the parts with SE, then that's only 50% of the gathering pie, right? What about the NE? Where's the NE gathering coming from, right? So I feel like it's missing. So yeah, that's what I mean. But like, in terms of you being more NT, yeah, you are more NT than me, but that's just the way it is. I feel like I'm trying. I'm. Remember, you just said that the more you project your emotion, the easier it becomes. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm trying to go with the feeling side more, because that's the area that I want to be more better at, because you can't connect with people if you're going with NT. You connect with people with feelings, and right. So I'm trying to go with the feeling side more, and yeah. So I don't know. That's where I'm at right now.
No, it's good. And I appreciate that. I mean, it's funny. I think part of the reason I ask, and I'm sure it's like, I don't necessarily see myself that well. So it's like, when you said that, I was like, wait, what? Like, so yeah, it's good feedback for sure. You're
into the max, man.
What? Am I?
Yeah, you go to the groups. You use a lot of NF too to support your NT. So you're very N. You're very N.
NF to support my. I don't know what you mean by that.
Like, you'll have an NT concept, but then you'll back it up with the NF.
Like how? Am I doing it right now? I'm like having like a freak out. Like what am I doing? It's so funny.
No, like you'll have a logical conversation, right?
Okay.
But you really like to use NF too to support the NT. Like, you'll have an NT concept that you'll deal with people.
Okay.
Now, I don't know your motivation. I don't know the underlying motivation of why you bring up the NT and you're having this discussion with people, because NF is what's the point, right? Well, NT is like how do you like what,
Yeah,
why and how, right? So it's kind of like you'll bring in the what's the point of me arguing about this
I
topic.
see. I see.
Yeah,
Okay, I
yeah,
do that. I mean,
yeah,
yeah. So just to make it sensory, like I think a good example would be how like the kind of pre-call, right? So it's like
yeah,
I brought up, here are all these arguments and here are all these concerns, right, from the tribe, especially, right? So it's like here's all this,
yeah.
and I was like, hey, the reason I'm bringing this up is because, hey, like, I mean, quite frankly, I don't know if I said this, but I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, there's bad vibes associated with this, So it's like we got to deal with that. Now,
Well,
what's funny no,
you,
no. What's funny about it, I think your feedback's really good because that really challenges me. Because I've been struggling to understand what sleep actually is. I feel like I have been lying to myself a lot because I thought I like. If I'm gonna keep it very 100 with you. I thought the pre-call planning was me doing sleep, and clearly you didn't experience it that way, right?
the
Which is
the pre-talks means.
the pre-call, like what we did before we had this, before we went live,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I thought, oh yeah, I'm processing emotions with him, but I guess I wasn't. Like, and like I'm not opposed to that. But then I guess, I'm gonna ask my now classic question, like, how do you sleep process? Jesus Christ. Now I gotta know. Because it's like if I'm not doing it, like, well then what the fuck? You know?
Well, I mean, you started off the pre-call with bad vibes with NT. NT attacking me about what the tribe has
Oh,
been saying behind my back, which is fine. It's cool. I'm the old decider. It's all good. I can roll with it. I appreciate it. I don't like it, but I appreciate it. I appreciate
oh
it.
my god. So okay, so help me understand, because it's like for me, it's like like for me, I looked at that and I was like, oh, like I'm trying to like really trying to express something that's been bothering me for a
Okay.
while, so that we can like clear everything out, so that when we talk, because that's my goal. Like when I talk, I want I don't want all that stuff to like come out, you know. So, so my question to you, and maybe this would be a good closing out point, is like, for people like me or people who have SF sleep, maybe as a demon, like what for you actually is sleep processing in that.
When you confronted me with those stuff at the start of the pre-call, you were getting the tribe's point of view of the stuff that I say that they perceive as bullshit. But you didn't talk about your feelings,
Mm.
about how you felt about the stuff that I said that maybe you feel was bullshit. It's not like you said, like if you were using sleep, you would have said, hey man, I was watching your stuff and you said this, and I just felt like you're really disrespecting the information. I felt like from my own experience, this is not how I experience it, and for example, like you have to use concrete example, right? Because it's SI too, right? The sleep is SI. So you'd be like, yeah, for example, I went out for groceries with my mom, and my mom was trying to control me, and I felt like this. I felt like she was being, really annoying, really nagging. Like, stop controlling me. Just leave me be. I can be my own independent person, and I don't need to be told what to do. I'm not a child. So like that would be like sleep processing, because like you're talking about how you feel,
Mhm.
and then you kind of back it up with something that happened in the past, with like a concrete like events that happened to you. um and the way I would sleep process is I drive my car without listening to music. I do cardio without listening to music. I just stare and like look at my thoughts and my feelings. We're both kinesthetic, so the best way for us to sleep process is through movement. Like when I'm in a car or I'm in a bus or I'm doing cardio, that's when I can sleep process better, because I'm moving.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it's all about that, man. It's all about like your feelings, especially when you talk about like the really deep emotions that makes you feel like that has haunted you your whole life. Then that's when you've really, that's when you're using sleep. Like for me, sadness is the worst emotion I've ever felt. Number one, that I've been dealing with my whole life.
Mm.
Number two is anger. I did see a therapist, and he said anger is a surface level emotion. And so he asked me, okay, underneath this anger, what is the real emotion that is your second, and I said feeling disrespected. So, and then my third one was loneliness. So it was anger, it was sadness, anger from feeling disrespected, and also from loneliness. And then the next step is like, okay, how can I take responsibility for my feelings and not, and you know, come to terms with that's how I feel, but also what can I do about it, you know? So yeah, the anger and feeling disrespected, why is it happening? Well, I'm not respecting the SF. That's why you know, it's my fault. I need to take self responsibility for that. You know, sadness. Why am I feeling sad? Well, I feel sad because I feel misunderstood. You know, I also never. My dad passed away, and I never got to know him. I always wanted to have a father figure. So how can I take self responsibility for that, right? Well, I just need to be open with my emotions with people. You know, if I want people to understand me, I need to tell them exactly how I feel inside. You know, they're not gonna understand me. They can't read my mind. You know, so I have to tell them how I feel. And then in terms of like having a father figure, well, I need to seek out male role models, essentially. You know, I need to take responsibility for that stuff. You know, so that's sleep processing in a nutshell for us sleep class people.
Nice. Okay, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry for making it. I'm trying, man. I'm really trying. Like I thought I was doing it, but I am working on it. I really appreciate you also being super patient throughout that whole process. And yeah, I would say just more generally, really happy to have you on. I think this was a definitely a different side to you that I've seen, and I think I definitely appreciate it. And hopefully everyone else has as well. Special shout out to Goose. Goose Goose said visiting every country would sound like OI hell, which I agree. But good.
The person that visited every single country, the youngest person to visit every single country in the world is an IJ. So you can't,
Okay.
so you can't say that.
There you go.
The person who did it the most gathering is an IJ. So
nice
to say.
There you go. And then also special shout out to Ian. He actually has a question for you before we head out.
Which country completely blew my mind? South Africa. I would say I was shocked. I love it. The culture, the animals, I love it. Colombia as well. Yeah, Colombia. I would totally live in Colombia. Malaysia and Poland. I know this is more than one, but Malaysia, Thailand, and Poland. Those are my top 5 favorite countries. Those all blew my mind.
Nice.
Mostly for the people and culture and animals.
Nice. There you go. All right, good. So let's wrap it up. But Kendrick, truly appreciate it. And everyone for joining and watching. Really appreciate you guys as well. Closing up, check out Kendrick's channel, ENFP Mail. I'm also, when I upload it, I will update the description with that. Are you comfortable? I think you have a blog as well, right?
Yeah, it's just my first. It's travelandlivefree.com.
Okay. So I'll make sure to put that in the description as well. And then from there, apparently this is the blaster thing I'm supposed to do. So apparently you need to like and comment and subscribe and all that fun stuff. My whole take on that is, give the feedback that, is meaningful to you. If you did like it and you think a thumbs up would help, do a thumbs up. I do read all the comments and I reply to all the comments, or at least, register that I've seen it. So just let me know. And then from there, I am coming out with a few more interviews this week. This week's going to be pretty crazy in terms of interviews. So be on the lookout actually for one as soon as tomorrow. So other than that, Kendrick, again, really appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.